Welcome to Tales of the Getaway Guy, an adventure into 23 years of TV getaways all across New York State and beyond. Yes, our travels will also venture into 23 years of radio days where my broadcasting career began. We do it all. Hold on. I've got everything you're going to need for your next getaway. Hello again. This is Mike O'Brien, your Getaway Guy, and welcome back to another podcast. It's Halloween when we are going to be debuting this podcast. And you'll be proud of me. I didn't buy all that candy 6.5 weeks before Halloween just to be prepared. No, I didn't do that. And I thought about that last night at home. I thought, you know, I didn't have all the candy to pick from for weeks on end before, but I didn't do it. So I'm so happy. But boy, am I going to go get some tonight. But I have to be ready. Today's podcast, we are going to go to a natural wonder of the world close by, and some interesting getaways that a lot of people don't think about. But first, I want to thank. I've made a new friend, Dom Genova. What a guy! He does a talk show on News Radio Wham 1180 every Saturday morning at 10 a.m. And he had me as a guest, and you'll be able to hear this every Saturday. He does a new guest, 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. And it's a whole lot of fun. So he had me over. We recorded it. It's called the No Nonsense Roundtable, and it was fun. It was a whole lot of fun. So thank you, Dom, very much for having me. You can check out his show at nononsenseroundtable.com, or you can find the link on my website at thegetawayguy.com. In today's show, as I mentioned, we're going to do some getaways to Niagara Falls. Now you're thinking, Niagara Falls? In the middle of fall, getting closer to winter? Yes, definitely. And there's a reason for it. And the reason is the crowds are gone, of course. You know, you don't have everybody bumping up next to you with a camera in their hand. It gets real annoying in the middle of summer, plus the heat and all. And I get it, Niagara Falls, cool, spray. Yeah, but guess what? This is the time of year to go to Niagara Falls. And I've got some very specific places at Niagara Falls that you need to visit. Powers Farm Market is a place I visited just a couple of days ago. I want to thank them for being a part of our show. It's still fall at Powers. They still have everything you'd expect from a good farm market. And definitely this time of year, I love their home-baked goods and their pies and their breads. And I found apple strudel there the other day. Believe it or not, I've been searching for strudel. They had it. And of course, the teepees and the pets, New York State apples, things like that. Kids love it there. Powers Farm Market, bring the whole family. It's on Marsh Road in Pittsford, and they're a part of this show. We thank them very much for being a part of it. Yeah, Natural Getaway, the natural wonder of the world, Niagara Falls. You know, we're about, an hour and a half away, something like that. It's not that far away. And one of the great places at Niagara Falls, this time of year, no crowds, or at least lighter crowds, is a thing called Cave of the Winds. It's an attraction. It's been there forever. Marilyn Monroe did Cave of the Winds in the movie Niagara, 1952. If Marilyn can do it, you can do this. It's an adventurous tour, getaway at Niagara Falls. And by the way, Niagara Falls State Park is the oldest park in the United States. If you didn't know that, I found that to be fascinating. And you know, when you get there, you can see the history of this park. But my recommendation is to go to Niagara Falls State Park. You can take a trolley. They have this trolley, which makes life a little bit easier if you're not into a lot of walking. But get yourself out to Goat Island. And there's history behind the name of Goat Island, which I won't get into. You'll discover it when you go there. Goat Island, it brings you really close to the falls, the Bridal Veil Falls and a few others. But I mean, really close, to the point of like, whoa, grab the kids by the hand. For sure. There are fences up, obviously. There's appropriate fencing. It's something that's just mind-blowing, because when's the last time you've been up against an amazing waterfall the size of Niagara Falls? You can get right up close and personal. Cave of the Winds takes you even closer. So I did this getaway many years ago on Channel 9, and I had my photographer, Scott Barstow, once again, was with me. He lost his lens cap to the falls, and I mean, they're just ferocious. So Cave of the Winds, is great. Again, access from Goat Island, but it's open year round, and it takes you to the base of the Bridal Veil Falls. I mean, you're literally feet away from it. It's really exhilarating. So you don a parka, or a poncho, I should say, and they give you sandals. But here's another travel tip this time of year. Bring a waterproof bag and maybe a change of clothes, because you're going to get wet in spite of the poncho and sandals. But that's part of the fun. So they have man-made constructed decking there, which, by the way, they tear down every year and they build it back up every year. That is how you get close to the Bridal Veil Falls. And in fact, there's one part called the Hurricane Deck. I don't know if you'll be able to get onto that deck this time of year. You might. And if you get a chance to do that, do it. That's where you can't. That's why you know the name Hurricane was very appropriate. Cave of the Winds, down to the base of the Bridal Veil Falls via elevator through the rocks. And it's so much fun. I mean, you're going to walk away from that going, wow. And that's one of the unique things about the American side of the falls. We have Cave of the Winds. Maid of the Mist closed for the season for now, so you can't do that. But this takes you dangerously close to the Bridal Veil Falls. Cave of the Winds, one of my favorite getaways at Niagara Falls. And this time of year, I love it. Also, this time of year, or any time of year, at night, if you're there for the evening, try looking at the falls in the evening because they illuminate them. Illumination is a great thing with Niagara Falls. They light them up. They used to have these xenon lights. They don't use those. They're now upgraded to LED lights. And you can't imagine the beauty and the color on all the falls, both sides of the border. Illumination. It's a great part of Niagara Falls if you're there at night. Now, they have suspended fireworks celebrations. They used to do that over the falls too, but that's not happening. But the illumination is. It's really beautiful if you're spending the night. Somebody asked me the other day, what's the most romantic getaway? I still think to this day, and it always was, like the honeymoon capital of the world, Niagara Falls. Still very romantic if you want to go there day or night. But at night, illumination, it's very appetizing. Speaking of which, I went to dinner the other night. I go to the Northside Inn a lot. I think they think I work there. I could start clearing tables. I could, but I just love it there so much. So Northside Inn, great Italian food in East Rochester. They've been there forever. The great people at the Northside. And it's just so warm and inviting, and the food is so good. And our friends, Dennis and Donnie and Chopper and Jackie, my favorite server, Teddy, she's there. Friendly neighborhood Italian restaurant. They've been serving up delicious homemade Italian food since 1949. That says something. So check it out. Next time you're hankering for some good Italian food, it's delicious at the Northside Inn. It's a classic in East Rochester. And tell them the Getaway Guy sent you. Journey Behind the Falls. This is another getaway at Niagara Falls, but now we're going to go over to the Canadian side. And right now, you're going to have to show proof of vaccination to get into Canada, okay? Proof of vaccination, so you either have your card or maybe you have the Excelsior Pass on your iPhone or whatever. Use those, but you do need validation of vaccination to get across the border. But once you're on the other side, there's a couple of attractions there in Niagara Falls that are so, how shall I say this? They're so classic. And I don't want to use the word touristy because it's all touristy stuff. But these are classic getaways. And one of them is Journey Behind the Falls. You can literally go behind the Horseshoe Falls. This is unbelievable. You head over to Table Rock, the Welcome Center on the Canadian side of the falls. You descend 125 feet down, and then all of a sudden you're exploring these 130-year-old tunnels through the bedrock. And these tunnels take you to like little portals behind the Horseshoe Falls. It's extraordinary, and you actually feel the vibration and the thunder. And then you can go out onto the observation deck, and that's where it's all open and beautiful. Journey Behind the Falls over at Table Rock, the Welcome Center, Canadian side of Niagara Falls. It is a great classic Niagara Falls getaway. And again, this time of year, the crowds are light. So that's what you want. And, it's just, you don't have the bright August sun on you, but that's okay. Go this time of year. I think you're really going to enjoy a different experience than you normally would in the summertime. That's one of the classics. I have a couple others here that I think you're going to like too. But first, I want to thank our friends at Jim's Restaurant on Main in Rochester. Good, cheap diner food. Yes, love Jim's. They also have a restaurant at Grease Ridge Center. This is a family operation. And if you're looking for a great diner food, cheap, this is the place. Jim's on Main. Again, just like family there. These people are so good. Just down to earth, good, honest food for breakfast. They also do lunches too. Jim's at 785 East Main Street, down from the Auditorium Theater, closed on Mondays. And Jim's at the mall, Grease Ridge Center. You're going to like it if you're hungry and you need a good breakfast and a bottomless cup of coffee, which I tend to take up all their profits with the coffee. My mug is never empty. It's good. And I was just there the other day. Boy, it was strong. Whoa. And I love that. I drink my coffee black, the heck with the cream and the sugar. I make that up with donuts later. Jim's on Main. You're going to love it there. You're going to love the Whitewater Walk. Now, again, we're on the Canadian side, and we're on the Niagara Parkway, okay? So all along the Parkway, there's a couple of great getaways, and one of them is the Whitewater Walk. This is less adventurous, more casual. It's an amazing boardwalk that goes right along the Niagara River. And if you don't know the Niagara River, how fierce it is, it's unbelievable. But you don't know it till you get close to it, because most of your observation of the Niagara River is from probably a different vantage point, usually up higher above it, unless you're on the Maid of the Mist, and that's another story. But the river itself is absolutely amazing, and you can walk right along this boardwalk. You'll take an elevator 70 meters down through the rock. Again, this is an attraction that's been there forever, and they're still doing it to this day. That elevator is a little rickety, and I'm like, oh my goodness. But you'll get down safely, and you'll be just fine. And then they let you out, and you walk along this boardwalk. It's a quarter-mile long, all along the river. It's peaceful. It's shaded. Part of it is anyway, and I find it to be really nice, a really interesting, different experience of Niagara Falls. Whitewater Walk along the Riverside Boardwalk, $17 for adults. Kids are 11 and a quarter, and kids 5 and under are free. But I discovered that years ago when I was doing getaways on television, and I was always looking for something new at Niagara Falls. And boy, talk about new. This was just a place that I didn't even know existed, and I just loved it. I've got another one that's even a bigger classic just down the road from there that is very scary, but they've been doing it since the 40s. And I'll tell you about that in a second. I want to tell you about another thing that's been going on since, well, for 40 years, as far as I know, because that's about how long I've been going to Nino's. Nino's Pizzeria, good, delicious Italian-style pizza. Culver Road in Rochester. It's a city classic pizza joint. They now have Uber Eats, which is good. I've been a regular for 40 years now, and it's the sauce, and it's the sauteed mushrooms and sauteed onions and red roasted peppers and that thick Sicilian crust. No one does it like this. This is old-style Sicilian pizza on Culver Road, 1330 Culver Road. Again, they're doing Uber Eats now, but I stop by and pick it up myself. Near Merchants, the best hole-in-the-wall pizza in town, Nino's Pizzeria. I'm getting hungry just thinking about it now. So let me tell you about that other classic in Niagara Falls. This is called the Whirlpool Aero Car. It's extremely historical. It's right, again, Niagara Parkway. You're heading toward Niagara on the lake, and then all of a sudden you see a sign for the Whirlpool Aero Car. So this is a historic Whirlpool Aero Car for an unforgettable ride over the amazing Niagara River. You even go over one of the whirlpools in the river itself. 6 class rapids down below, and you're 3,500 feet above the Niagara Gorge. This is an unbelievable cable car. It's an antique cable car that actually takes you across the international border between Canada and the United States. And that's probably the only time you'll cross the border and then come back without having to prove, your citizenship. But this is a fun time. I mean, and I checked the cables too. Believe me, I looked at those cables and went, when's the last time OSHA was? You're fine. It's classic. And you can only get so many people in the car. I think 30 people. And across you go. I mean, it's not a thrill ride, but you're, haphazardly dangling over the Niagara River. I'm just going to throw that out there. That it's probably something you don't do every day. We have a band here. Did you know that we have a live band? It consists of one person, but it's okay. So the Aero car, $17 for adults. Kids are $11.25. 5 and under are free. Check it out. It's just one of those places that you just didn't know existed, and it does. The Aero car. Viewer podcast question. We had a question come in from Carly from Rochester. And again, people ask questions at our email address, Mike, the Getaway Guy, at gmail.com. And this question came in just a little while ago, a few days ago. What's your favorite 2 to 3 hour road trip destination this time of year? Here's the weird thing about our state. We live in New York State where seasons do change, and we're heading into, frosty times, and a lot of attractions close down for the season, of course. But there's one that is a classic New York State getaway. I had the pleasure of doing a couple of getaways here. And it's called Howe Caverns, Howe, Howe Caverns. A lot of you know exactly what I'm talking about. Others of you probably have never heard of it before. Howe Caverns is a classic, about a 3.5 hour ride. Head for the thruway and head east. But it's a classic getaway for the whole family, and it takes you 20 stories below the earth. I'm always going below the earth in these elevators. What is that? Do I have this this thing for that? It's extraordinary because it's been there forever. And I won't bore you with the story, but it does start long ago when cows were always gathering under this one spot in the heat of the summer. They discovered that there was cool air coming up from the ground. That's why the animals were gathering there to cool off. And this cool air coming up from the ground actually was from caverns way down below. Well, that's where you get to go now without the cows. Howe Caverns takes you in an elevator 20 stories below the earth, and then the caverns down there are unreal. I mean, it's just so enormous. And so you go with the group tour. You have a tour guide. And it's just extremely unique, to say the least. So that's a good little getaway, about a 3.5 hour ride. And it's near Cobleskill, Canajoharie, things in that area. So again, it's a little bit of a ride on the thruway, but you could start really early in the morning, and then you could get back in the early evening, or you could spend the night in Cooperstown. That would be a suggestion. That's not too far away from Howe Caverns, and that's a whole nother getaway unto itself. That's one. See, Carly, you asked the question. I'm just going to go on and on and on. I think that's a great family getaway. I still have a photo of me in the group of other people when I was just a little boy at the time, 20 years ago. What? Yeah, of course. Okay, you done with that? So, Howe Caverns is a great place to go. Another 2 to 3 hour ride away, Corning, New York. That's my hometown. Corning is about an hour and a half away. And Corning, New York has the Corning Museum of Glass, which is extraordinary. And they also have the Rockwell Museum of Western Art, which at first glance, I thought, Western art, I don't know if that's for me, until I got there. And then I went, holy macaroni, this is unbelievable. And it's all in Corning, New York. Some amazing works of art at the Rockwell Museum of Western Art. And it's not Norman Rockwell, by the way. That's somebody totally different. But this is extraordinary. And again, it's close enough to the Corning Museum of Glass where you can, once again, take a shuttle, or you can use the pedestrian bridge to take you over to that area. Market Street is kind of like the hub of it all. Market Street in Corning was where you'll find your shops, a lot of restaurants. So you could spend a day in Corning any time of year because both attractions are open year-round, and then go to Market Street for your lunch or whatever you want to do. But it's a good day trip. And again, it's an hour and a half, hour 45 to get down to Corning. Just head south on 390 and you're there. And it's easy. And it's a small enough town where you can get around fairly easily. I mean, it's beautiful during the spring, summer, and fall. As we get closer to winter, it's still a good day trip. Find good weather, make sure roads are good. That's another getaway. And then, of course, what I was just talking about a little while ago, 2-3 hours away, Niagara Falls. Do that. Niagara Falls is, again, close enough, and it's one of the natural wonders of the world. I do want to go back to Howe Caverns quickly, and I just reading my notes here. They're open Wednesday through Sunday. So things have changed a little bit with the pandemic. Just so you know, Howe Caverns open right now, at least Wednesday through Sunday. Go to their website, and that's where you would get your tickets online. Okay? So those are some ideas there, Carly. You asked, and I'm telling you now. So those are some ideas for day trips. Powers Farm Market. Talk about a great family getaway nearby. Powers is, as we know, on Marsh Road in Pittsford. They've been there for, talk about historical. Their story is great. They've been around since the 60s. Farm fresh fruit, veggies, home-baked goods, New York State apples this time of year. And for Christmas, they'll be having, Christmas trees and wreaths. They do it up beautifully. And they have the animals there, which is great on Christmas Eve to go and stop by and just celebrate the holidays at Powers Farm Market. Any time of the year, it's a great getaway. Marsh Road in Pittsford. Well, I think that's about it. I do want to go to, we did have a viewer comment with our YouTube video of our podcast, and the comment was about our last podcast, and it comes from Jeffrey Packard, and he writes, the Kinzua Bridge is on my list of places to visit. This is one of the getaways I featured on our last podcast. It must be beautiful this time of year. Oh boy, is it ever, Jeff. And it's one of the many places near Salamanca and Allegheny State Park to visit that I haven't been down to see in a long while, and he looks forward to a good long weekend in that area. Yeah, Kinzua State Park is a great getaway this time of year. But here's the thing. I went for a walk yesterday in my neighborhood, and the lady's raking her leaves. And I said, they're starting to come down. She said, yeah, but this year there's like no color. The colors were minus that. And I still think it's going to happen, but I think it's just going to be late. So Kinzua Bridge, definitely a great fall getaway because of the views. Check out our last podcast if you want information about the Kinzua Bridge. And Jeffrey, thank you very much for commenting about that getaway. And you were mentioning the Allegheny Mountains and Salamanca and all that area. If you're heading down in February and March or April, heading down toward Angelica, New York, and they're only open seasonally, but I mentioned those months because of Cartwright's Maple Tree Inn for maple syrup from the trees. They do such a great job, and their pancakes are just unbelievable. And they're a classic getaway too. But again, that's more February, March, April. Go to their website and see exactly when they're going to be starting up their season. But if you're down in that area, like I say, later toward winter, that's definitely a must-see. Cartwright's Maple Tree Inn. There's just so many getaways everywhere, and that's why we do this podcast. So, we don't really want to product placement. You don't want to put like brand names on TV because let's cover that up. Actually, we'll just kind of do that. There we go. Is that better? Oh, the book? Oh, this is my travel book. It's actually a local bestseller, and it is called The Getaway Guy, 50 More Day Trip Getaways with Mike O'Brien. That's me. Yeah, this has been a great book for people who want day trips. all over New York State. And there's 50 of them. Plus, there are 4 haunted getaways in the book as well. That's why a lot of people love this book so much. If you're interested in this, there are a limited number available, and I can sign it to whoever you want to give it to, maybe to yourself or maybe for the holidays. It all depends. Just let me know the details. Go to MikeTheGetawayGuy@gmail.com and let me know. That's MikeTheGetawayGuy@gmail.com. And grab yourself a travel book. Why not? This is, of course, my travel book. If you have any questions, by the way, questions about getaways, anything like that, I'd love to address those. Just make sure that you email me at MikeTheGetawayGuy@gmail.com. Ask away, and then we'll hopefully answer those questions with our next podcast. I think that's about it. I want to thank Powers Farm Market, of course, Jim's on Main, and Jim's at the mall in Greece. Also want to thank Nino's. Definitely the Northside Inn, our new sponsor, Northside Inn in East Rochester. And I want to thank Joe here for all the work, Classy Wolf Media. Oh, and don't forget, remember to subscribe to this podcast so that you'll get all our podcasts automatically on Spotify, Apple, Google Podcast, and find our videos on YouTube. Just search The Getaway Guy. And of course, you can find all of this, all our links to the podcasts and videos at my website, thegetawayguy.com. That's pretty much it for today's show. I've had a ball. I hope you have too. Thanks for coming along. Until next time, I'm Mike O'Brien, your Getaway Guy.